Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of Indie Book Review. This is my 50th review. Woo! 50! And I figured, what better book to have as my 50th review than the Van Helsing Resurgence by Evelyn Chartres. We know this author. She's been on this... I've reviewed 3 of her other books. What better author? And with that, let's get... Well, before I get into the review, I'm going to just say one thing before getting... when it comes to people wanting to read this book, read her other books first. All 3 of them. The Portrait, the Van Helsing Paradox, and the Grand. Not necessarily in that order, but read them first. It's kind of important. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get into this. So, first off, the plot. Without giving too much away, basically some shit goes down. Heaven's all like, ooh, this isn't good. Sends Clara and Edith down. Not necessarily at the same time or with each other. Edith sees Clara, but Clara doesn't see Edith, and Edith is trying to figure out whether or not Clara is actually a figment of her imagination in terms of what's going on, or whether or not Clara is just dead and gone. It's a whole thing. And then a lot of it's just Claire trying to figure out what's going on while giving little snippets of what's going on with the vampires and what's going on with Victoria and what's going on with the Georgians. It's... A lot of this book is not what it says in what's going on. It's what it's not saying. If that makes any sort of real sense. Basically, this is sort of like a mystery. But you're not supposed to pay attention to the mystery itself. You're supposed to pay more attention to what Claire's doing and how she's figuring things out. And even not even so much as paying attention to Clara, paying attention to the Georgians and the vampires as well. There's this whole overarching thing that spirals into this whole plot, and it all comes out right at the end, and it just sort of works. All in all, I am going to give plot a 5 out of 5. Not for the sake that the plot is particularly whole, but in the way that the plot is fragmented in its own way. It's interesting, it's different than what I'm used to, and I really, really enjoyed it. It definitely worked for me. Characters. This book is full of interesting characters. And before I go any further, I'm just going to say, Edith, Elizabeth, Evelyn, 3 E's. 3 women who start with E. And I think there was a Brianna and a Brenna as well. Oh no, Brenna was a whole different thing. Never mind. Don't worry about that one. Other than the whole name thing, which really is not that big of a deal. It's just something that I wanted to mention. The characters are all really dynamic in their own way. And holy crap, do they all have their own little sense of agency. They've all got their own sense of everything that's going on around them. There's really not much I can really say in terms of critique for the characters. Like, they're just really, really well written, and characters are straight up 5 out of 5. The writing is masterful in this. Wow. Like, I remember getting a little lost in the Van Helsing Paradox, and I think it lost a couple points with that. I never got lost in this one. This one I always had a firm grasp of what was going on. I never lost interest. I never wondered what was going on, other than, what the plot wanted me to wonder. And yeah, I definitely really enjoy this. Straight up 5 out of 5. Imagination and research. A part of me really wants to think that Evelyn, the author, kind of took some inspiration from Vampire the Masquerade. Like, she mentions aggravated damage in terms of fire. which might be just a standard term. I'm not sure, but I've only ever heard it in terms of vampires in Vampire the Masquerade. And if that is something, like if that is a thing, love it. Something that only some people would actually figure out or even realize that they've read. Love that. In terms of imagination, there's a lot of imagination. This book is teeming with it. It is just incredible, the amount of imagination that goes into this. And even the research, I definitely really enjoyed just what little bit, like the lingo. Just like the previous books, the 20s and 30s lingo is just down pat, and it is beautiful. I have no problem believing that Clara is from the 20s and just can't get past her own lingo and has a hard time adapting to the modern slang. Loving that. Imaginative research, 5 out of 5. And finally, we get to the ending, which was almost perfect. It was almost the perfect ending to this. Like, this is a middle book. There's, to my knowledge, there's one more. There's going to be one more after this. There might be more. I don't know. But to my knowledge, there's going to be one more. And this would have been absolutely perfect. I would have had absolutely no critique to it. Just absolute praise. Except for one tiny thing. The final boss battle was just a little too fast. It just came out as a little bit too Deus Ex Machina. And it just didn't quite work. It's just, there's this big monster and now it's gone. It's like, oh. Like, I get that it was building up to this sort of thing with Edith and whatnot, but still. I would have liked to have seen just a bit more fighting. Like, Claire shows up to help fight it, and she's like, yeah, explosives and bullets don't work on it, and they don't really try it. I would have liked to have just seen that little bit more of a fight, you know? But that's just me. I'm not going to spoil anything else for the ending. You guys got to read this book for yourself. And maybe you as the reader won't be put down by it or let down by it. Because it definitely does build up to what's going to happen. There's a lot that really builds up to it. And all in all, the ending does get a straight up 4 out of 5. It's just that little too quick to end it. And that's really it. A 4 out of 5. So all in all, the book does get a 9.5 out of 10. Like, this book is fantastic. Easily the best from this author. And before I go, I just want to make a couple little notes here and there that I just noticed throughout the book. Or at least, a note that I noticed throughout the book. Everyone is naked at some point. Most of this book, someone is naked. Either Claire's naked, or Elizabeth is naked, or Evelyn's naked, or Edith is naked. Someone is always naked. Or normally naked. Or one of the women that Clara ties up that is naked. Like, someone is generally naked. And it's like, holy Christ. Oh, man. I'm not complaining. It's just something that I've noticed. And the last thing that I really wanted to say is, I actually went out and bought this book. The author puts the books out for free on Amazon for Kindle, and I did get the first 3 for free. This one, I kind of actually really wanted to support the author, so I actually bought this one. And I do ask that the majority of you people, or at least anybody who sees this review, actually shells out the cash to buy this book. It is fantastic. It is worth the money. I definitely cannot endorse this book more. And that's all I got. Have a good one.